KARN News Time is 8:13. It is 40 degrees. On the live line with us is Representative Tim Griffin. Good morning, Representative Griffin.
Morning.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. I'm about to catch a plane.
Okay. Well, we won't make it. We won't drag on your interview here quickly.
It won't be for a couple hours. So we're good.
Okay. I thought you were at the gate or something, getting ready to walk on. I know that the Arkansas delegation not happy right now with Mr. Obama's budget. Can you explain that?
Well, the budget in a nutshell raises taxes $2 trillion, and the president indicates that he needs to raise taxes to deal with the debt. The problem is this budget raises taxes and adds another $10 trillion to the debt. And so after 10 years, we would be at $26 trillion in debt. You know, and ABC News reminded us last night that when the president came into office, he said, by the end of my term, I'm going to half the deficit, or half what we're in the red, the amount we're in the red every year. And we're still at about a little over $1 trillion in the red every year. So, you know, the problem is the clock's ticking, and we need to make significant strides dealing with these problems. And this is another budget that punts. The one last year, remember, he has a budget every year. The budget last year went to the Senate, which is controlled by his own party, and got zero votes. Not zero Republican votes, 0 votes. So it's important to remind everybody that, yes, the president has a budget. Yes, it represents his vision and priorities, but it's just the starting point in terms of the conversation. We're going to have a budget, too, in the House, and the Senate normally would have a budget, although they haven't had a budget in over 1,000 days, which is a whole other conversation. But this is just the starting point, and that's what I try to emphasize to folks who are alarmed at, you know, this proposal or that proposal that's in it. This is just the beginning of the conversation.
Well, what are the president's priorities in the budget?
Well, clearly he wants to increase taxes. One of the things that he does is he increases spending for a lot of domestic programs. He cuts defense severely, but here's the thing, and this is something that both parties have done over the years, and we've got to stop it. A lot of the accounting is gimmickry. For example, the president talks about the money he's saving as a result of not being in Iraq anymore. Well, that's not saved money. That's money we didn't have anyway. So, yes, we're going to spend less money than we would otherwise, but it's not savings because we were borrowing that money. So it's not like you can take that money and go spend it somewhere else because it didn't exist anyway. Someone made the analogy that's like when you graduate from college, just because you're not taking out any more student loans doesn't mean you're saving money. It just means you're no longer borrowing that money anymore. And so we've got to get into the details, which we will do. It's obviously a massive document, but the top line here is it does not reform Medicare. It does not reform Medicaid or Social Security to save them. They're still on the path to bankruptcy over the coming decade or so. Social Security a little longer. But if you like these programs and you understand how important they are to seniors and folks, we're going to have to reform the system to save them. Otherwise, they're going bankrupt. Another missed opportunity on that. So you asked me what his priorities are. I think his number one priority is to get reelected. And so the tough decisions were punted.
The president's budget, he says, would achieve $4 trillion in deficit cuts, in part through restraining the growth of many government programs, but it also relies on $1.5 trillion in tax increases, mainly by allowing the Bush tax cuts to expire on families who make more than $250,000 a year. And here we are back to an issue that has been an issue since he took office, the Bush tax cuts. How do you feel about that?
Well, a couple things. Sorry, that's my 2-year-old. A couple things. First of all, he thinks that raising taxes, or he says that raising taxes is somehow going to help him deal with the deficit or the debt, yet the deficit stays right where it is at over $1 trillion. And so the idea that it's somehow necessary to deal with the problem, it's just not true, because what he does with taxes doesn't affect the problem. And so I think that he knows it's not going to pass. He knows that even his budget won't pass the Senate, that the U.S. Senate, which is controlled by his own party. So I think this is political maneuvering. There are other tax increases in there besides dealing with the 01-03 tax cuts. But my bottom line is this. We are not in the mess we're in because the American people are taxed too little. If you believe that, then please call my office. I will sit down with you and show you some of the numbers. It's not because we're taxed too little. It's because our federal government is addicted to spending, and it has been on a one-way trajectory up towards bigger for decades, both parties, and we've got to stop. And if you want to see what the future looks like, pull out your crystal ball and look at what's going on in Greece. Now, that's an extreme example, but that's where we're headed if we don't get a grip. And this budget is another missed opportunity to do something bold and significant. It's not going to get any votes of any significance by either party. Democrats will reject this budget. It's an embarrassing budget like the last one was. And again, all you got to do is look at his own party. They're not going to go for it either.
All right. Representative
Griffin,
thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank y'all. Sorry about the 2-year-old. He's
no,
a good
hey, I'm used to it. It's just like being in my own house. Thanks for talking to us. KARN News Time, 8:20. We're going to check traffic.